All right, so this is the Calvin Heimburg internal shoulder rotation drill to commemorate his recent big win. Put in the chat, good job, Calvin, if you love to see it. All right, so the problem is with the power pocket, you need to get to this internally rotated position. A lot of people have a hard time with that, and the full reach back that people are doing introduces some extra things to think about, worry about, to get distracted by, that can make it hard to really focus and feel just the one part that is missing in a lot of people's power pocket, which is the internal shoulder rotation. A lot of people, they pull through into elbow dip, which is driven by external shoulder rotation and wanting to keep the disc at the same height so the elbow dips as you externally rotate. A lot of people try to solve this problem by reaching back internally rotated more, but then they want to try to keep the disc flat, so then they rotate their forearm like this, which is tense and hard to do and makes you want to elbow dip when you have that tension in the forearm. Even without that tension in the forearm, if you reach back like this on briefcase internally rotated, it gives a false sense of security. People already feel I'm internally rotated. All I need to do is just bend my elbow and I'm in a good internally rotated power pocket. Unfortunately, it's not quite that easy for most people, and so as soon as you start trying to add power, you still go straight into the same external rotation. So how can we simplify and focus just on the internal rotation so we can really feel it? What does it feel like to actually internally rotate on the way to the power pocket? If already being internally rotated is not helping you get to a power pocket that's internally rotated, then you need to do more. You need to be more actively internally rotating during the pull through, actively internally rotating. And that's what this drill can help us simplify down to focus on. You might feel for the first time what it really feels like. All right, some prerequisites. The number one prerequisite here is you need to know how to coil. So here's a quick 1 minute how to coil. If I'm throwing this way, okay, I want to turn my chest to face the camera, and I want to do that without turning my feet backwards. The back foot can be turned slightly backwards, like 45 degrees, that's fine. The front foot can kind of pivot like this off of the heel a little bit, that's fine. But largely you don't want to completely turn them back because that loses all of your tension in the coiling that we're trying to use for power. So just put your arm out like this in a reach back away from your chest, and we're throwing this way. And now, without turning the feet back, you're just going to twist until your chest is facing 180 degrees away from the target. Notice I didn't move my arm at all. I'm just twisting my chest, and so now it looks like I'm reaching back, but I'm just reaching away from my chest the whole time. So that's coiling in a nutshell. And that you should feel some tension here. You might feel like you want to turn your feet all the way back. Don't do it. You lose the tension that gives you power. To simplify even more, we're going to start in this coiled position and reached back, except in the Calvin Heimburg reach back position, which is kind of like this. And then we're going to throw from here so that you don't have to think about coiling, footwork, timing of the footwork and the coiling and the reach back. You already start with that all set up. So this is my coil pause verify drill, link in the description to that. Is to me the best way to focus on the pull through and the power pocket, because you get rid of everything else. You set it up beforehand, you can now forget about it, focus completely on the pull through and getting to a good pocket. So Calvin Heimburg's reach back, very simple, bringing the elbow up and then pushing it away from your chest. That's stretching from the shoulder, that's scapular protraction. And it's just those two things together, up and out. So since his reach back is like this, there's only one thing you really need to do to get to a power pocket. You just lower the hand. That's internal shoulder rotation. That's it. You don't do anything else. You just go boom. Look at that. I'm in a good power pocket. Don't have to think about anything else. Don't have to think about what do I do with my elbow. Of course, it'd be good to curl your wrist as well, but you can preset that to some degree. So that's all we're gonna do. We're not changing anything with the elbow height, anything. We're just going to coil. You're gonna set up like this, get your arm up, like your elbow up like this, put your hand here, coil, pause, and now you're just going to rotate. But as you rotate, you're going to internally rotate as well. And then once you get here, now the elbow hinge can just open like this, and you can throw. So that's all we're gonna do. Something else that's important though, this might make you throw nose up. If you keep pushing towards this internal shoulder rotation, this here, if you keep pushing this down like this, then you're gonna throw nose up like this, okay? Look. You see, nose up if I'm throwing at the camera. So you have to go, if you don't want to throw nose up, then you go from here, you go internal rotation, and now you start going external rotation and rotating the forearm in that same direction, supination and external rotation. So it's this back and forth between the internal and external. But you don't have to worry about that initially. You can focus on that later. Just get the feel of the internal shoulder rotation. And if you start getting a bunch of nose up air bounces, ignore it for a little bit. Focus on locking in this feeling of, like this. Lock in that feeling during the pull through, and this will help your pocket. And as it starts helping your pocket and you start feeling what it should feel like and how to actually do it, you can start bringing it into your normal form, and you don't have to keep throwing like with this Calvin Heimburg style reach back. And then you can start working on the nose angle. Also, just to show, some people get confused with Calvin Heimburg. They think it's super weird. It's not. It looks way different, but it's really not. Here's his reach back, okay? Look what happens if I extend my elbow. Looks like a pretty normal reach back. And the mechanics for the shoulder rotation are the same. If I start pulling through like this without rotating my shoulder, I end up in this Calvin Heimburg reach back position. And so I have to internally rotate in the same exact way. It just looks like different because it's happening all at once. Instead of going like this and then this, that's happening all together, and so it looks like it's different. With Calvin Heimburg, you get to see the elbow already bent, so it's just way more obvious that the shoulder rotation is happening. All right, so I'm about to play around. I'm gonna use this drill to start warming up. Just gonna throw soft and then elbow straight up, 90-degree angle here. Okay, hold the elbow in this position, coil, pause, push the elbow away from my chest to get some stretch from the shoulder. Now I'm just going to rotate my body and then internally rotate here. And then from here, the elbow is gonna start opening, and that's when I'm gonna turn it nose down so that I don't throw nose up. Save that part for later though. Okay. All right, I think I was a little bit slow on the internal rotation there. It looked like my elbow might have dipped, so I'm changing the camera angle a little bit so we can get a better angle of that, hopefully. All right, I think that last one looked pretty good. So I'm gonna do a few more. Another angle to see. All right, so in that last one, I extended my elbow a bit because it's falling back into old habits. Not a big deal if you're getting into the good internal shoulder rotation that you want in the pocket, but I'm gonna try to exaggerate. Instead of like, the closer I am to here, the more my elbow wants to bend. So I'm gonna exaggerate this external rotation with the elbow up and, you know, the forearm angled up like this. I'm gonna exaggerate it even more to stop tempting, to like reduce the temptation to extend my elbow in the reach back. And this will also make me have to internally rotate even more to get to an internally rotated pocket. So it'll help me lock into that feeling. And I'm actually gonna kind of watch my elbow here, make sure I don't don't extend it. Although you don't want to throw hard trying to watch this, because you're going to then want to turn your head early probably, but I'm not throwing too hard right now, so it's fine. All right. All right, I'm happy with that one. So this big part about working on your form is I look after every throw that I'm filming here, seeing if I'm doing what I'm trying to do, because you all know if you don't look, you're going to think you're doing it and when you're not even close. So I'll show you what it looks like here. This is a Toro, so it's going to go nowhere. So another reason this drill can be really useful to feeling internal shoulder rotation actively being done during the pull through, instead of just kind of like passively trying to keep it and failing to do so, is because when you start like this, you're pretty externally rotated. There's so much less desire to a temptation to stay or externally rotate more, because just seems so weird to do that, right? And actually, with the weight of the disc here, as you start moving forward, you can kind of feel this getting a little bit heavier and making you want to go towards internal shoulder rotation. So it's like we're setting up in a position where there's nowhere that you want to go other than in the direction that we want to be in, the internal rotation direction.